Hello. I built a door a few days ago, this door, and it is a 1,463 blocks by 7 observerless, and I'm 1.6 components, I think, but I tested it then. Yeah, it's quite cool because I haven't seen this size before without target blocks, because as you'll see in a second, the bottom inputs are a bit strange. Yeah, this top was taken from my 1540 block 7x7, so I'm not going to do a tutorial on that because I did one already. Same top, just copy down to about here. Yeah, the bottom's interesting because it uses this redstone block slider. Yeah, which makes it very annoying to build. Which is going to be fun for this tutorial, isn't it? The tape is very slow. Right then, so although I'm not showing this materials list includes all those blocks. So you can look at that if you want. I don't know how much of that goes into the bottom. I didn't bother to color code the bottom for some reason. And I also haven't put any of the items that you put in, droppers and stuff. Yeah, just fill those in as you go along, I guess. So yeah, this color codes the top. That's the top inputs and the bottom. And these are this amount of quartz blocks, which is like, yeah. So, this is the top. I haven't tested it. I just copied it over now. It pushes down far, then you push up once. Be right back. So I recopied it. Now it works. I just spoiled it, broke it last time. So as I said, pushes down, bottom pushes up. Let's take it to attraction things. And it does it again, pushes up again. Oh. And then we wait a bit. That's the top, and so I'm going to build the bottom. So the first thing, I guess, would be to finish the sides. Yeah, and the axiom, and the bottom layout. So it's standard for this size of observable zigzaggy storage. Unlike the 540 block one, which had crazy storage. This is fairly normal, apart from the inputs. Now we need obsidian there, all along here, but I'm going to replace it with barriers so we can see what's happening. Also, my barrier block symbol look like this, and I don't know why. So if anyone could tell me. It started when I started using shaders. Yeah, these are just all one-tick repeaters. This input is going to get changed in the future with poppers and stuff. But for now that works, and then extend those pistons to active and immovable, which we're going to be doing quite a lot. So these observers slide back and forth because we can't have that too big. And then I'm just going to do this circuit now. That just slides it back. So those are the bottom inputs. And then we have the tape, which normally I don't think you'd build at this time, but it's important for quite a lot of the door. And I need to give some credit to Wolfina Maria, I think is how you say the name, for this hopper clock idea. tape. They did it for a 6x6. And it's a good idea, I think. So this just does that, because when the tape is on, this is powered. And then gets redirected by this dust, so it doesn't power that all the time. And on this side, you make that drop on a slab. So that, you'll see how that works in a minute, and then over here, we have the redstone block goes there. That just pushes it over into the redstone block. And this gets pulsed by this thing, which then pulses that. So this has piston there, and then two repeaters, I think. Yeah. If I push this round and keep the slab and the dust there, to connect those pistons up. This also needs this dropper to update that piston, because that's a long pulse. And this is the tape. A bit strange, but yeah, you can't really be fast. And yeah, then it retracts right there for a second, which I didn't actually know. So I've got this torch which updates that, but I guess it's not needed. Let's find out. Ah, right, so now the materials list wrong because we don't need that block and torch. Anyway, so that's that's the tape, and then the input to the bottom is fairly normal, I think. Oh wait, I also forgot this input link, which just connects the bottom and that repeater line, so we get two pulses there, and then three pulses there, which is just quite useful. Right, and then the input, this hopper has 5 items in, different from the 10x7 down there, which had 7, I think. And then it goes into this dual edge, just does that, and it's a 3 tick, which goes into our input, which is this torch burnout. This gives the pulse into this line of redstone. Oh, it goes up here, sorry. And that just goes into there, and there, and there. So what that does is, if I do this correctly, let's just move. So what this does is when we power this, this does updates these pistons, and then 1 tick later the redstone blocks slide over, which it's the same as doing this, but just updates and then pushes over, which 1 takes that. And then at the same time we power this line, at the same time these turn off. Oh, that's so annoying. Maybe I have an idea. We can copy this and just paste it, I think. Right, anyway, so yeah, so that, what that does is that Cool. Bit stash code brings us back to normal. And then what we also have to do is power this line at the same time as like everything else. And then we get this sort of thing. And we get another pushover, which means we have to power this again. A tick after these arrive getting pushed back, so these get another 1 tick pulse. And then because we're powering this again, these get another pulse, and those get another pulse. So I'm just going to build that with blockers here for later. So that just goes through and does another pulse a bit later. So what that does is not work. I'm gonna have to reset this. Nice easy way to reset is just doing that. And then do our paste thing. Right, so this is going to power that twice. The block's actually in the storage. And that pushes us up a bit more, and then pushes over, which is ready for us to power this, which finishes the close. Very nice. Yeah. Oh, I guess we should build that next. Right, so the way we power that bottom thing is with these droppers. So this one has an item in it. So when this dust powers, it powers this dropper going into this comparator. And then that goes into the 3 tick, I think. So 3 tick into this monostable, which just one takes that line after a while. Then this repeater powers this dropper, and then this dropper afterwards, which sends the item back into there, resetting it. So now if we power this, we do that, and then if we look down here, that switches on, and then powers up, then resets itself. So that is the closing done. Very nice. Now what the top does is I'll build this over this side. Pushes down twice, quickly after another, I think. I'll make these target locks. So the bottom does that, and then it waits a bit, and then does this with the redstone block double. So this is pushed down as far as it can go at the moment, otherwise it's just going to push down the bottom of the door. So we have to start pushing this over and then push those down. So all the same circuitry works, which is quite nice. So if I do that, and then that gets a pulse, and then it kind of just all works. Except it doesn't, because I forgot to do something. We have to push this over again at the right time. Only on the opening. Maybe you can do it on the closing as well, but I don't. And the way we do that is with a dropper circuit over here. So take all that out, and then our output is there. We need a hopper, go into a dropper. That gives us an output. And then we have another dropper here, and then one here I think, one there. And them all with that one. It goes this way because you can't have a hopper under a different dropper. And then hoppers there. And just place everything back. There has to be a hopper between each dropper because circuit like this is locational. So in that location it's spat it out to there. And then in this location, point is some locations it powers this dropper and then this dropper, and the other location powers this dropper and that dropper. So you need to have a hopper between them if you're powering them with dust line like us. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 droppers because this line gets powered 4 times. Yeah, over the whole door. And then we take an output from that. The item goes in there. So on the close it goes to here and then to there. Then on the open it goes to there and then back to there. We have this hopper dropper which just repowers this at the right time. So we have to reset this. So item starts there when it's closed. So if we do the closing, like that, then the bottom pushes down a bit. And then we do this, top pushes down, and then that turns on, and that turns on, and that turns on, retracting those blocks at the right time. So when it pushes up, we're like this. And then what we have to do is update that and start the tape. So there'll be blocks there, so it will work. Yeah. And we have the tape. And then the retraction bits. So the way we do the tape, and first we have to update this basically the same time we power that. Or maybe a bit before. And the way we do that is we've got that's like that. This hopper can face there, there, anyway. So the actually goes right there, which gives it lots of delay, which we need. And then it gets read by that comparator, which does a comparator 1 tick pulse, which is important because we need to power this with a 1 tick for reasons which aren't really relevant yet. Yeah, and it needs to be a comparator 1 tick because it's going to go through some torches. So those torches are like that I think. Oh, no, never mind. This one goes up there. So yeah, and we retract that piston with that repeater. So what happens is wow, that the 1 tick goes through all there, updates that piston by that torch, and then powers the tape. Yeah, it updates that piston, which pushes the redstone blocks along, which pushes the blocks that would be here into like the piston stack, so they can be pushed up to here to do the tape. Yeah. So if we test that, it should work. So the item should be there. Yeah. This also gets powered by that dust, but it doesn't matter because there's no item there yet. So closing, the top pushes down a bit. And that happens. And it breaks. Apparently. That's all good. Oh, I forgot to put this block back. Yeah, just put the redstone block there to stop the tape. Okay, oops. So what's meant to happen is there'll be a block there, and I'll push over again and it'll work. I decided not to add that for some reason. So, setting time. Add this here. To make it easier to reset. So, item is not there because I did that thing. Right, okay, now it should work. So that's all retracting properly. Then that powers which this torch updates that to push over, which pushes those over. Tape started. That happens. So yeah, that just goes. As that update is relevant later, by the way. Then the tape happens. We do the quad retraction circuit, which uses all of this space. So yeah. To show the quad retraction circuit, I'm not actually going to reset. So the quad retraction circuit, when the tape is going around, this torch is on, and the tape is not going around, this torch is off. So use this. So tape's going around, tape's not going around, and then we tape that as a one tick. Of course, after one tick again, it's going to be sending it through torches. So that just switches off after the tape. And then, first thing it did was power this torch, which should update that, but I realise now I don't need that. Which means that can be a solid block if you want. So what it's going to do is power this 2-tick. So if I pulse that, it resets that. So the tape is sort of... I'm going to add this torch just because it makes testing easier, I think. So yeah. So that torch pushes over these redstone blocks. And then that powers at the right time to do the double to retract those. And then the next thing is to one tick that. And the way we do that is with these torches. Let's just go through that. So the one tick goes through the torches, powers that. Yeah. So now what's going to happen is this line will power and do the double. Except it doesn't retract, which is annoying. Which is why we will need this pick here. Just keeps that on for a bit longer. I also have a feeling that that needs to be a block, otherwise it breaks. So now what we have is the double, and that one ticks over and it retracts a bit later, which is very useful. So the reason why that one ticks is because this is a torch one tick, which means it can power this torch off, which lets the item go through once, which powers through here, powers the redstone block. But before the redstone block gets powered, this powers back on, I think. So what that does is it updates these pistons, and then a game tick or two later, this pushes over, giving that a short pulse. Yeah. So you can see that if we do this, So that retracts and then extends, and again tick later goes power, which pulses those over. And it has to be a quick pulse, so that we don't have to retract these pistons before powering this line. Power those pistons, we can just power that at the right time. And how we get that right time is with a 3 tick there. Yeah. Monostable here. So the reason why this has to be a 1 tick is because this has to be 1 tick, because if it's more than 1 tick, then this torch powering on, powers that piston, which updates that. So if this is on for too long, it can power this dropper hopper, which is very bad. Right, so what this does is it just 1 ticks this line a bit later. So that happened. And then it just pulses that, and then a bit later that pushes back, pulls back, but we don't actually use this update to push it back. We update it separately from this comparator. Stick the torch there, which updates this piston when that turns off. So yeah. If we watch here, you can't really see that torch, but it turns off. And then that pushes back a bit later. Before that would have updated. So we get some more speed. And then what we have to do is we power this again, as those are retracting. And that stops them extending again, because now their block's being pulled down. And then this loop does the last pulse, because this needs 2 more pulses to do that. And the way we get this pulse is the same way we get the pulse to there, because that can happen at the same time as these 2 pulses. So what we do is we have this dust line which goes up there, and this dust line, and we 1 tick them. And what that does is, with the help of that, we get the final retraction. Which is very useful and also insanely difficult to get, it turns out. Spent ages on this. So what we do is we have a monostable here with a 3 tick repeater that. Except we also need a 3 tick repeater there, because this thing powers this comparator first thing, so we need to lock the pulse going through there so it doesn't power when it's not meant to. And what this does is, if I make the item go somewhere else, we can see that the retraction is done, basically. Because this goes through here and powers that monostable at the right time. So that gets locked, so the first pulse doesn't go through, and this gets powered again. And the pulse goes through, and then we get the retraction at the right time. Right, well, you notice the item goes there, because if it went back into here, this would power again from this going around again. But this powers in a loop if we don't stop it. And the way we stop it is by extending, I'm going to have to stuff. By extending this piston, the 3rd time this can get back, the 2nd time this powers, so it doesn't loop. So yeah. So the way we do that is with this piston and redstone block there. So when this powers this line, it retracts this piston, which means that gets powered by the redstone block. So the next time this gets input, it's going to be like that and won't power anything. So we can look at that. This gets powered. Doesn't have an item in it. Of course I forgot the item. Okay, so yeah, that stays out like that. And then wait for the second pulse to here, which does that, which retracts that, so now that's extended. So the next time it goes around, it doesn't repower, making it a clock. So yeah. So that's nearly the bottom done. So that's the retraction. But the problem is now this is like that, and then on the closing, this line powers once at the end of the closing, and on the opening, this line powers once, and then all this happens. So that's in the wrong state. So what we do, add this updater. So now on the close, this doesn't do anything, and then this line powers it, and then in the opening, this storage line now there's an updater to power that. So the storage line powers that, and then the second pulse of the storage doesn't, because that's now being powered, and this line gets powered again. So now this is in the right state to do the whole quad retraction thing. So that's our bottom done. If I remembered to put blocks in it. So we do that, does the retraction, does a very slow tape, it doesn't work. Right, now it should work. So that is spat out, which is the right thing. So if we speed the tape up, bottom is done, which should be the whole door done. Yeah. Oh, another thing I just realised, that 7x7 top looks like that, I think. Which, if you're following this tutorial, is what you've built. It's that 7x7 top is too quick for this bottom because the tape is so slow, so you have to make that full tick, and then it works. Very small change. So if a block here doesn't get grabbed by the last quint, that's the reason. And that's the door done. Oh, there's a block here. Guess it got pushed over. I'm going to speed through it because it's not that interesting. And the retraction gets done. Yeah, and then you fill in the hallway, do what you want. But if you're filling the hallway and update these pistons, remember to put movable blocks here, then you can place your floor blocks without those extending, then you break those. Otherwise, those extend and then the whole thing is broken. Yeah, thanks for watching. That was quicker than I thought it would be. Maybe it wasn't that quick. Yeah. Okay, bye.